Right in front of me, I have a normal search feature. Type something, page updates, and it gives us a result. Simple, normal, and it looks secure. But there's a big flaw in how the website handles data. A single line of JavaScript code can turn this harmless search term into a powerful attack. In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how that vulnerability works, step by step, using a real example from the PortSwigger Web Security Practice exam. Then we'll use that knowledge to craft an exploit that steals a user's session cookie that allows us to log in as that user. But before we do all that, just remember, this is simply for educational purposes only and should never be done to harm anyone. And if you want to join our Discord cybersecurity community, it's linked down in the description. Let's begin. Let's start by looking what happens when we type, for example, 123. We press search, and the first thing we'll notice right here in the URL, our search term 123 is being stored as a query parameter, search term equals 123. This is a super common feature everywhere. This is a way for you to bookmark your search result or even share it. By itself, it isn't dangerous, it's just a way to pass on information. But the real question here is, what does the browser do with this information? How does it process it? We can check that right here by pressing Ctrl-Shift-I to open developer tools, and in the network tab right here, we can reload the page to see all the network activity. And here we can see our search term equals 123 method get, but something very interesting, our search term is appending to a API backend endpoint called search_results. So it's making a request to search_result search term 123. And here we can see the type for this search term is JSON, and we can launch up burp suite to see the data inside. Let's just launch up burp suite, type in terminal burp suite, upper hand, and we launch it up. In burp suite, we turn intercept on, and then back in our browser, we reload the page to capture the request. And right here, we got the request search term equals 123, and we forward this so it appends to the backend API endpoint, and then we capture the request we want right here. Method get search_result search term equals 123, and we send this to a repeater so we can look at it more clearly. Here we have it, and we can send this to see the response. And here we have our JSON data, results, and then a search term in a string 123. Pretty standard stuff. Here is our JSON data, super normal, but the problem here isn't the server, it's what the client-side JavaScript does with this perfectly normal looking response. Let's look at the front-end code. Here in the network tab again, we see a bunch of JavaScript files, and this one right here, search results.js, is the one that processes the whole search. We double click to open it to see the code. Here we have the whole code. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just going to show you that line that's responsible for it. And here we have the bug. The developer used eval. So they're creating a JavaScript statement as a string var search result object plus the operator, then gluing the server's response next to it before executing it with eval. If you didn't know, eval is extremely dangerous because it doesn't know the difference between code and data. It simply takes a string and runs it as if it were a program. Obviously, the developer intended the server to send back predictable safe data to create an object, but since my input from the URL reflects on that response, it means I control the data. And if I control the data, I control the whole code. This is what we call a JavaScript context breakout. The server thinks it's giving me a simple JSON string, but eval is executing it as if it were a program. So how do we break out? We need to think like a JavaScript phraser. Let's just visualize it first to see how it looks, how this part looks to eval. So we copy this. Let me just open a new terminal to paste it in to show you guys. I paste this part in. I'm going to delete this part. So var search object equals, and then the response we got from burp suite. We copy this and we just paste it in. So it's how it looks to eval. Var search object and equals our response here. And here is our search term that we put in the search bar. So we need to change this here, right here, what we type in. And then first, we should give it an empty string to close off the double quotes to close off the string right here. So we get out of it. So var search object, search term right here, empty string. And then we give it an operator plus to tell eval. So this plus whatever comes next. Let's do something non-destructive to see if it works. So we do, for example, alert, and then in brackets, 1, 2, 3, for example. So, and then we need to comment out the rest. First, we need to close out the response by putting curly brackets, because we have a curly bracket right here. We do curly bracket, and then as you can see here, we have the rest right here. We need to comment it out so we don't get any syntax errors. So double slash. So here, var search object equals this part, string plus, because we closed the string early, we got out of it, plus this part, alert 123 JavaScript, we close the curly bracket, and then we comment out the rest. So in theory, if we paste this into our search bar, it should execute. Let's just put in our burp suite first to see how it looks. Something like this. Double quote plus alert 123 curly bracket // We send it here. As you can see, we got it early. Here it thinks an empty string. And after it, alert 123 got executed, curly bracket // we comment out the rest. Let's just paste in our search bar to see if it actually pops up. Because in burp suite we cannot see it. We just put it in and we press send. And then right here, we got the alert. We successfully executed it with eval. Now popping up an alert is fun, but it doesn't complete us the exam. We need to prove a real impact, like stealing a user's session cookie and taking over the account. To do that, we have to deliver a more sophisticated payload. And since we have a exploit server provided by the lab, we can do it there. So back in the main page, we go to our exploit server provided by the lab. And here we can craft a response. Here we can give a file, a head, and then the body. Yeah, I already wrote the payload, so it's more easier for me to explain to you guys. But here, let's break this down. First, we give the tag script, so we can put JavaScript code inside of it. Then location, so as soon as they open it, this will execute. They will get redirected here to the main page with the search term by closing the string, then plus telling it to execute whatever comes after, then eval, then A to B. If you don't know, A to B is a JavaScript function that takes base64 code and converts it into plain text. This is a very common technique to smuggle complex scripts past any filters. But yeah, right here we have our main payload. That's base64 encoded. Let's copy this and decode it. Let's see what's inside of it. Let's go to base64decode.com and then we put it here and then we decode it from base64. Convert. And here we're using the function fetch. Then our exploit server, the query C to store the cookie. Then B2A. B2A is simply the opposite of A to B. It takes plain text and converts it to base64. And the document cookie. So we're basically taking the document cookie and then converting it to base64. This is so the cookie has any special characters. We don't get any URL problems. So we're taking the cookie, coding it into base64 is B2A, and then we take this whole part right here and base64 encode it, so we pass any filters. And then once we send it, A to B is going to take the base64 encoded, decode it, then it's going to be executed with eval. Once it's executed, it's going to get the document cookie. B2A is going to convert it into base64, so we don't get any problems, and then it's going to send it, fetch is going to send it back to our server, so we get their cookie. But if you remember from before, this is not done yet. Plus sign, curly brackets, / have special meanings in URL. So we have to URL encode it. And then we go back to burp suite, to decoder. We type plus, and then this is URL encoded. Instead of plus, we type this in. And then curly bracket, and then // we take this and put it in the encoder again. And then we take this here and we paste it in here. Now, in theory, this should work, and we can take this part, the payload right here, copy it and try it for ourselves before we send it. Type it in the search bar. We just type it like this. We press send. Here it looks like nothing happened, but when we go back to the access log, let me just store this real quick. Go back to the access log. Here we see our cookie. Here we have my cookie right here. So it worked for me, and we're gonna send it to the victim to see if it works. Deliver to victim. Go to access log. Here we have a different IP, so it's the server, the victim opening it, and right here we have their cookie. Here is their cookie base64 encoded. So we're gonna have to decode this. So we take this part, copy it, go to our base64 encoder, decode from base64, and here's session equals, and here is their cookie. We successfully got their cookie. Let's go back to the site, open the storage tab, in the cookies, and then the session. If we saw right here, session equals, and then the cookie. So we have to put it in the session part, not in the lab. We paste it in, we close it, and then we refresh. And right here, my account, Carlos, we successfully had Carlos. We escalated the DOM XSS injection into a full account takeover. So understanding how the data flows through an application from a source like the URL to a dangerous sink like eval is the key foundation to finding and exploiting DOM-based vulnerability. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to join the Discord and see you next time.